Argentina booked a place in the knockout stages of the World Cup. No problem, nothing to see here. Marcos Rojo, would you believe, the unlikeliest of heroes, giving Argentina the winning goal against Nigeria. And it's strange, Craig, say you compare it to the Germany game, where Toni Kroos scored that late winner. You kind of thought there was almost inevitability about that. This, however, you didn't really feel Argentina were going to score.
No, they lost their way in the second half, and Rojo showing Higuain really the way how to keep a ball down. I mean, it was great technique, a fabulous goal. I mean, had it been the wee man Messi scoring it, it would have been saying, well, that's just fantastic technique. Depending on how far they go in this competition, now they're in the knockout, it's going to be despite of the coach, not because of the coach. Because from the first goal, the first whistle of this competition, his team selection has been shocking. And more importantly, his substitutions have been absolutely bamboozling. That being said, he's got away with it. And Mascherano's got away with it. I mean, Rojo bailed Argentina out, but he bailed Mascherano out big time because from the first whistle, he was charging about like a headless chicken, giving the ball away, arguing with referees, and then he gave the penalty away.
Before we go into some of the intricacies of the game, it didn't look like Argentina were going to do it, did it? No. As Craig said, Higuain put it over the bar. They weren't exactly hammering everything on goal.
Well, when you're sitting from a distance, you can't see what they're trying to do. And so we're able to see it from a distance. Imagine how chaotic it must be on the field.
Sure.
And that's exactly what it appeared. Chaos. Just everybody running around. Can we try and find Messi? If not, what are we going to do? Because they looked absolutely clueless. And pretty much everything they did do, it either broke down, they gave it away, it was a foul. I mean, it was no classic of a game. The tension was fantastic because of what could have happened, but the football was atrocious.
So your point is that there was no real purpose as to what Argentina was trying to do in the second half. I thought the first half of Argentina was excellent. I thought that, wait a minute, where has this team been? They looked like a team with high energy. They looked like a team with ideas. It felt like Messi was getting the ball in more advanced positions. Second half comes around, early goal by Nigeria, and we went straight back quickly enough to the first couple of games by Argentina. And the same sort of plays where players are just kind of getting on each other's way, where everybody's just kind of looking around and saying, what are we supposed to do? And then they look to Sampaoli to make the changes, to Craig's point, and what in the world is going on? If you keep running into the same issues down the middle, well, you would think that logically speaking, you try to go down the flanks. And if you're going to put balls into the box, maybe you need bodies in the box. You have one of the best strikers in the world sitting on the bench, and you decide to bring him in with 9 minutes to go in Sergio Kun Agüero. It just gives you an idea that not only do the players have difficulties understanding what they're supposed to do under Sampaoli, Sampaoli has difficulties understanding what he's supposed to do. And somehow, they're through.
He brought a Mesa ahead of Dybala and Kun Agüero.
Yes, and Mesa, first 3 touches on the ball were straight out of bounds. And I'm not exaggerating when I say straight out of bounds. Yep. He gets the ball, tries to go past somebody, puts it 10 yards in front of him, no chances getting to it, straight out of bounds, turnover after turnover. Look, this whole team, and Stevie just mentioned it, they're just chaotic. And they get in each other's way. And Nigeria, their difficulty was that they fell into the trap of the chaos as well. So they were organized for long periods of time, and then they started chasing around like crazy as well. And in doing so, Marcos Rojo, of all people, not only is it a great finish, and not only is it Marcos Rojo, it's Marcos Rojo with his right foot on a full volley. Come on now.
Meza and Pavon have got 11 caps between them, and I believe no goals. Perez played again for the second game in the spin, and he wasn't in the squad until, I think, Lanzini got injured. It just makes absolutely no sense. And can you imagine Sergio Agüero and Paulo Dybala on the bench? Every time he goes to make another substitution, they must be like, he's putting him on. He's putting him on. I mean, honest to God, they're through.
They're through. No, they're exactly.
Through. But I tell you what, they're going to meet the French, yeah?
Yes, yeah.
If Didier Deschamps' French team don't beat this lot,
then
he's in as much trouble as Sampaoli.
Sure. We'll talk about the game a little bit later on. Expected goals had Nigeria winning this, Stevie. I know expected goals is what we focus on very much. However, were they hard done by overall?
I think they deserve something out of the game, yeah. You know, if you'd said to me before the tournament that Nigeria and Argentina, the winner was going through, I would have to stick Argentina through. But the truth is, they're so unlucky, Nigeria. You know, they've given it everything. They've made chances. They've scored some goals. But as always happens in football, when it comes to it, usually somebody rises to the occasion.
Yeah.
And unfortunately for Nigeria, it wasn't one of their players.
No, it was Marcus Rojo.
It was Marcus Rojo.
Obviously, before that, we saw Lionel Messi with the goal. How good was that goal? Yeah.
Magic. And his movement, it was... I mean, the ball from Banega was great. I thought Banega was a very good addition to them. I mean, clearly, and he's another one that must have been scratching his head early in the competition. Saw him play for Sevilla this season, played really well. Great little clip, but Messi came in field a little bit, then he darted in behind, and the defender got drawn in. Bang, the ball was on the sixpence, right on, and it was fabulous, absolutely fabulous. But boy, you always said, is Messi going to be able to carry this team? I thought, well, before the competition, well, they still get up. But no, he is. He is going to have to carry this team.
Right.
That's how disjointed it is. And as for that clown, Maradona sat upstairs. Why TV directors keep cutting to this buffoon, I don't know, because his behaviour is not befitting of somebody of his stature. It really is not.
Where do you stand on the Mascherano penalty?
I think in the world that we live in now with VAR and the super slow motion, it looks worse than what it really was. But nowadays you put two arms around somebody and you see it slow motion. Once he called it, there was no chance that he was going to go back, because you look at the replay and everybody sitting in this room would be like, well, yeah, that's a penalty. Had he not called it initially, I don't think we would be saying it's a penalty. But you can't go back because it's not clear, an obvious mistake. I wouldn't have called it a penalty, but in the end...
It's a penalty all day. It's a penalty all day. Listen, the one good thing, right, that will come out of this is it might stop defenders doing stupid things like that. You know, I'm assuming he was taught at some stage, Mascherano, how to defend properly. And at no stage, I'm going to guess, did any coach ever tell him that you put two hands round your opponent and you hold on to him for 30 seconds.
There's a theory from some that this has always been the case, that people have always been holding in the box.
Not at all. That's nonsense. This is something that started probably 15, 20 years ago. Listen, if you were getting held in the box when him and I were playing, it was a penalty kick. All of a sudden, they stopped giving penalty kicks for it.
Right.
And with the introduction of VAR, I'm glad to say that now it might make defenders have to defend properly and not cheat and basically get away with not being good at your craft.
My only point, Steve, is that we saw Mitrovic the other day for Serbia, where he was manhandled, not by one guy, but by two guys. And that play was not even looked upon by VAR. So I'm just looking for consistency. That's all.
Well, that's what people are screaming as well. After we saw the penalty that was awarded for the handball in yesterday's Portugal game, people were saying, well, why wasn't there a handball against Rojo later on?
Well, I didn't think the one yesterday was a penalty, but it was headed by the opponent onto his arm. The difference here is, and people seem to have lost track with this, is that Marcus Rojo inadvertently headed it onto his arm.
Sure.
It's a bit like coming out to block a shot if you're a defender, and you go to ground and the ball strikes you on the thigh and goes up and hits you on the arm. That's not a penalty either. And I think you saw with the referee, he's a very experienced referee, as soon as he went to the VAR, as soon as he saw it come off Marcus Rojo's head, one replay, and then he went back for another check, and he saw the clip, and he went, no penalty. Yet there's still people arguing about it.
I would have actually thought that there was one earlier that was more of a penalty when Iheanacho got kicked in the head.
Right.
And nobody did anything. They didn't look at it again.
I suppose the argument was that didn't he get the ball first and then caught his head on the way down? Is that?
Well, it's reckless.
Right.
It's called being reckless now. So if I was Nigeria, I'd be more angry that one wasn't given rather than the handball.
Again, I didn't think that was a penalty, but it's where this is subjective. Even with a system in place that allows you to look at this replays, it still comes down to the decision of the referee. And even in the sequence that you're talking about, the fact that they don't even take another look at it, it just gives you an idea that there is inconsistency in the implementation of the system. And overall, I think the system has worked. And I think no better example than the game yesterday with Spain.
Yeah.
If the system is not in place, Spain is not going through.
Sure.
And so it just gives you a sense that the system is working, but boy, there are a lot of things that they sort of need to be ironed out in terms of the details.
So let's just remind you how Group D finished up and how close Argentina were to going out. Remember, they were bottom for a long time during those matches. But it's Croatia and Argentina who advanced, Nigeria and Iceland going home.